I run this.
Yeah. She likes to run the agenda.
It just makes it easier.
Yeah, it does. Where do we go? So, yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Very well. Today we're going to be discussing breaking the barriers that people have in their minds on getting into real estate. Everybody thinks they want to have money, all sorts of stuff. It's really just finding the asset. And then finding the asset, having some skills and a network in order to make that possible. So that's all of it ran out in 1 second. Okay. So that's where you come in. Because a lot of people need credit.
Yeah. Whoever credit to you,
Exactly.
Whatever.
See, that's
So
yeah. Yeah.
definitely have some talk on that and resources for individuals if they want to do it themselves or.
Yeah. Most people just want you to do it. Like me, I want you to do it. I want my credit's at 650. I want to, they told me I could get cheaper rates if I do this, then I have this rate. I want you to do it. And like, what's the turnaround time? That's how our minds are.
Yeah, that's really what's really because it's like they need to transition when they need the changes now, right? It's not something like you want to go over process, which it does with credit repair. Like not to just go off on tangent, right? Credit repair it's case by case basis, right? Everybody's situation is different depending on whether or not you let your credit go down the drain, your fees goes and that's not all the credit cards, right? So there's a process into it. But the average time that I've seen growth or transition to get you to where you want to go or reach your goals, which is and as long as it's a partnership, it's not just partnership, right?
That's perfect.
Repeat that?
It's a partnership on both ends.
Okay.
Because yes, I can do my part, but you also have to do your part, right? So if I'm going in and making this move for you, you're continuing to be legal and there's the credit cards that are helping. Okay, so and also
So you do credit repair?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So assist individuals on credit repair and also giving information on how you can leverage credit to be able to get funding for business, home, car, homes, whatever.
I think this is a great little dialogue I'd love to have.
Yeah.
So
I think it's recording.
is it recording already? Nicole, is this recording?
Yeah.
Oh, this is perfect. Yeah. So I guess I might as well just take it away. Nathaniel here from the Real Estate Deal Lab. Let's go. What? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Really? I'm done chewing? Okay. Sorry.
We have to have humor in it.
For sure. Of course.
I know, yeah.
Wow.
I just want to keep myself okay. Because obviously, when I heard you talk, you seem passionate about it, and you know that the time that it takes to do these things, so that shows a lot of credibility there. I said the same thing with real estate. A lot of times I would get people to the closing table, and it's a lot. I have other deals running myself, and they would not put in any work. And that's when I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got to have people educated with their mindset, this, that, the other. And that's why we did started a real estate deal. So it has 2 courses in there, fix and flip, which I do a lot of, and then wholesaling, which is where I started. Wholesaling is where you're able to assign the contract to an end buyer and make a profit just by finding the deal. Anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. You can make in just one deal. It's called just flipping paper, really. Now, in some states you can't do it now, like South Carolina. However, it's still one of the oldest practices. Don't let anybody believe it's an old practice.
Wholesalers, I do agree, and I also want to say too, I know it does require a lot of, manpower, because you have to find reviews, you have to do a lot of, you have a lot of boots on the ground, right? So, doing the wholesaling piece, that's actually a pivotal point, like that's the very foundation of just find deals.
That's right.
Making connections with wholesalers as a fix and flip very important too. So
very important. It's vital. It's vital to your life, your business. If you have two good wholesalers, you'll be a millionaire in a couple of years, period. Right? And that's building that relationships. Because they are the ones that are doing all of the groundwork. I consider myself like a tech, like when I was working in the emergency room, like an ER tech, doing all of the work and doing every little piece. I know who to talk to in the environmental service to clean the room. I know who to talk to, an attending, a doctor to come and do this. I know everything because like you have to do everything and you have to be a part of an assistant to everybody else. And then, like I said, wholesalers, a lot of the times, you know, when they're young, starting out, they might not have the credit, but they have the skill. And they don't really know that the skill can lead them to really be an investor, like a real deep investor. It's all about just continue to study, right? And not shying away from ugly deals. I have a crazy one right now that's in Carolina. That's why I know a lot about the laws. And it started out real easy. You know, I got the property. I mean, I'm doing what I normally do in Florida, and then suddenly, well, you know, Carolina's a little different. You know, so now I have to figure out a bunch of different exit strategies, but you never shy away from it. You know, a lot of them, oh, I have a dead lead. There's no such thing as a dead lead. You know, it's just you have to have the right skill or the right team.
So skill in itself, you also can develop things.
That's right.
So being able to, you said, not being able to shy away from certain deals, you also need to be able to understand where you're stuff.
Right. That's right. So don't take on a lot of crazy stuff that you can't shoot at the same time. Knowing when to say, all right.
No one to fold.
Yeah. Knowing when to say, I wouldn't say full, but it's similar, right? Like you're saying.
Like, never fold.
You know, I'm like, I'm holding on.
This is going to start.
I'm getting knocked around the boat.
But you're also very stringent on the numbers though.
I am.
Right? You really pay attention to the numbers. And so, you know, calling it fold or calling it saying this is just not a deal for me,
Right.
that's a skill in itself
Right.
to learn whether something is going to work and not lose your shirt on something just because you believe in it, or the house is pretty, or you know, whatever the case is, or you know, the person who was living there just, oh, I just really need your help. You know, it's very hard to also kind of balance all of that. But I think all of those things that you guys are discussing is really what can scare the normal person coming in off the street knowing nothing about investing but saying, hey, I just wanted to real estate. Like I heard it's cool, I heard it's a good thing, I hear it builds generational wealth, but where do I start is the question, right? Where do I start? Because I see things on YouTube and we know a lot of those guys aren't really doing real estate, right? They're not really boots on the ground talking to folks and getting, you know, these deals, right? So where do I start? Where do I go? You know, can I use the equity in my home? Do I have to have a certain credit score? You know, what does that all look like? You know, do I have to have a ton of money for a down payment? And so that's what I think is so great about the Real Estate Deal Lab, because it does give you that initial information in addition to allowing people, anybody, to work with you, our investor. Right, and to have that one-on-one conversation and guidance, etc. Right, in addition to the courses, in addition to your contracts and the like. Right.
And to add to that too, I feel like having a platform like that allows the structure for you to be able to go through a blueprint that you've already created, that other investors, you know, ahead of you already been through, so you can take the guesswork out of the process. So having mentorship is something that I've always said that is very important to your success. It'll fast track your growth and fast track your opportunities that you'll be able to gain in the future. So that's definitely important, and definitely recommend that people find a collective of individuals that they can lean on and glean on and make.
And I 100% agree. I mean, 100% agree. If you don't have this teamwork, just like even doing this event that's right here, just getting all these things together, all these moving parts, it's a lot of work. I definitely couldn't do it by myself, right? You have to have that structure, that team, you know, and people that are ready to work, you know, people that see the vision and are ready to work with you, you know. I love looking at folks and saying, oh, you don't know, you could really change your life with this thing. I mean, it changed my life, period.
change your life with one decision.
Yeah.
And how long is the average deal?
Oh man, I'm doing one right now. It was only 2 weeks. You know, so and just one phone call. I really want to post that a lot. You know, just with one phone call, you know, could change somebody's life just by you having a simple conversation. You know, and a lot of the times it's conversations that you're scared to have. You know, you have a question.
I do. Just listening to you talking, I know that we talked about it some time ago. What you were saying about just knowing where to get started, how to get started, and like what does the deal have? Like what can a person like myself knows nothing at all about real estate, want to get into it, got some challenges, but you know, with you having the experience that you have working with people and helping with credit, how does this get someone to a place where they feel comfortable and confident that, you know, I'm going to be able to move along to get to a place that, you know, I can feel like
that question because I just had Austin join and I'm going to go grab someone from the door. But I think that's a great.
Austin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
All right.
Austin is
Hi, have a seat.
Austin is one of my lenders. I was
How are you?
this young lady, what's
Leangela.
D'Angela? She has a real powerful question. How do you get started? Right?
Yes.
That was the question.
Like what does it look like for someone who really wants to do, you know, like get into real estate? I know that's a huge, broad subject, but into investing, when I read a flyer that says, you know, it doesn't take a lot of money, you know, you could do this without, you know, any money, you know, what does that look like?
It sounds crazy.
It sounds impossible.
So the first thing I would say is start to read. A lot of times you see a lot of stuff on YouTube and what have you, or meet somebody like this collective right here, right? You're doing that's the first step. You're at the first step immediately right here. So that's a pat on the back for you for even coming and showing up. A lot of people don't even do that. You know what I mean? But you did that, and that is really the key. And listening to the information and then immediately starting to execute every day. Oh, I have to make a phone call about a property. Start looking up on Zillow what properties are available. Start to play with the numbers. Then ask a guy like me questions, right? Is this a good deal? That's the first question, right?
When you say looking at making phone calls, what am I looking for to make a phone call about?
Right. You're looking for somebody that needs to get rid of a property, right? That's the first step. Somebody that's willing to get rid of a property, not the ones that are like looking for top dollar.
Okay.
Right, looking for those keywords that says seller finance or hey, motivated seller. Those are two keywords right there. If you start to look for those.
And if I can jump in. So what Nathaniel is referring to is called a wholesale strategy. In real estate investing, there are many strategies, right? Nathaniel is versed in them, right? Wholesaling is a very popular one. I think that's a very popular term nowadays that people hear. And the idea is to buy a property at a very low price. And then you know, either it's very minimal remodeling, very minimal things you might have to paint walls and stuff to a version that would be considered a fix and flip because you have to do a lot of remodeling, right? And then you'd sell it at a higher price or sell it to somebody else who's going to do that work, right? But they'll give you a fee, for example, for, you know, selling the contract of the property that you have, right? Because it's all about selling the contract in wholesaling. However, there are other strategies as well that he's talking about that don't cost money as in cash, right? There are financial vehicles that allow you to do that. like HELOCs, for example, right? Which you can use your home equity to then purchase a property, right? So just to say that, you know, Nathaniel's probably going to totally talk about wholesaling today, because that is a very low bar entry to jump in, right? There's not a lot of skin in the game monetarily, but it is about being consistent, you know, and that's what the Real Estate Deal Labs courses offer you, is that information to start and the training wheels to start. And it's a kind of thing, after you take that course, then that you might spend, you know, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, and you start to get into it and you start to do it more. So it's the kind of thing, is like, you know, for Nathaniel, he can spend 12 hours, 14 hours a day talking about real
You see me
estate,
walking
right?
around, I just.
Right? He
I
fell
can't-
in love with it, and now it's his way of life.
Yeah.
But for the layman person who's just learning about this, it is overwhelming. That's why we develop the courses, you know? So, and then being a part of the Real Estate Deal Lab, we also have a weekly webinar with Nathaniel, where he talks you through things. He'll talk to you about his deals that he's doing, and then give you an idea of where you can find those deals, right? And then where you can find those deals for free. Because a lot of times you'll hear things, oh, you have to pay for leads, or you have to pay to get information. We don't pay to get information. He's been doing this for 10 years. He's never bought a lead.
Yeah, never.
Because the information is online, it's free, it's the government gives it to you. You just got to know where to look, and that's why all of that information is fed to you in a systematic way in those courses, and then we have the person to also talk you through it as well. So I think that's kind of the difference there. Whereas a lot of times it's like, okay, buy the course, go through the course, good luck. If you make it through the course, which most people don't even make it through a course, then they're just like, okay, now what do I do with this information, right? But now we're real people here saying, hey, you can do it. And this is the kind of information that has not come to our community, you know? So we want to bring it to our community. Hey, you can do this too. You know, you can make changes and build that generational wealth. We all know the 1%, 90% have made their wealth in real estate.
For sure.
If I can barge in real quick, you're just
Oh,
looking
yeah.
to summarize everything you both just said. It can get very overwhelming very quickly, and analysis by paralysis, and you just look all day and you never pull the trigger. If there's one word that defines 10 different real estate strategies, it's opportunity. You are looking for where the opportunity is, whether that be a wholesale deal, whether that be seller financing, whether that be a fix and flip, whether that be you want to buy a property under value. You're looking for opportunity where there's margins to be had. And then one other thing I would say too is I see investors all the time start and they have a full-time job that's 10 hours a day. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I do this every single night. It's like when I'm laying in bed for 20 minutes every night, I look at Zillow. It's what I do. And you don't need to know anything about anything to do this. At the very beginning, all you're just looking at is market research by your own analysis. And you may not know anything of what to look for. Just start looking at what's on Zillow. And then you slowly do that every single night, and you'll see, wow, this house was a 3.2 for 2,000 square feet, and that was listed for 300,000. Oh, I just saw one down the street, and that was listed for 250, and it's 400 square feet more. There's opportunity right there because you're buying that second property under value. So my big thing that I could tell you starting from the very beginning is just don't get overwhelmed, and just everybody has their own path of how they get to where they are. Don't get overwhelmed. Just slowly look on Zillow, and then you'll finally start understanding more and more every day. And Nathaniel knows what he's talking about, so follow his lead as well. So.
and Austin is my lender. He's done several loans already for me on properties where I refinanced it. I got a discount. Always get it at a discount. Everything discount.
And let's actually, make a few introductions. I know we kind of all jumped into it, which is awesome. We started a conversation. That's why we're here. But just so you know, so I'm Nicole Savage. Okay, I worked with Nathaniel, created the Real Estate Deal Lab and the courses to go along with that, and learning about. I'm starting out just like you guys a year ago, learning about the industry, learning about, just how to find properties, and now I'm driving along and I can't help but see opportunity everywhere, and that's kind of what they're saying. You just kind of fall into it and then you become obsessed with it a little bit. And then Charles?
Michael Charles, my name is Michael Charles. I run a credit repair company, RC Credit Solutions. I've been in business for 2 years now, but I've been one credit repair for it's just family members and everything. I just kind of decided to make it business. So I help entrepreneurs and individuals repair, boost, and build and leverage their credits to be able to gain the capital leverage and anything that they're looking to purchase. That's buying a home, starting a business, or just getting that dream car.
And I'm happy to be with you all. It's beautiful. I'm Nathaniel. I've been doing real estate for 10 years. I did wholesaling, fix and flip, new construction. I have seller finance deals. I've done everything in real estate. I'm working on some commercial stuff as well. Build-outs, all kinds of stuff. I just love the game. And I started really out in wholesaling. That's where it started because I didn't have any money. I came from New York with some money and I was like, oh yeah, let me get into entrepreneurship. And it didn't work out that way. You get into a job, this, that, the other. And I was like, by the time you look around, you didn't do anything. Just like what Austin was saying, analysis paralysis. And I was like, nah, today is the day. And I didn't care. I went on Craigslist, found a property, went to the guy's house, talked to him. I came with a suit and tie, black suit and tie. And I used to come out there like that. In fact, one of the investors that I had at we had a Cajun Soul Bistro, he remembered that moment of me coming in a suit and tie, because I thought that's how you had to do it. Now I come in t-shirts and shorts, whatever, but I had to get that rhythm. And I had a simple concept. You ask how to get in, just go to 3 houses a day, 3 open houses a day. Just ask questions. Just like what Austin was saying, just get online and look at Zillow. You're like, hey, listen, he talked about South Carolina. Let me look at those houses. And then you will start to see the prices are different than here. And then you say, wait a minute, how much is that renting for? It'll blow your mind when you start doing that. Oh, this little town is selling for this. These little houses, I could get a couple of those. How do I do that, Nathaniel? And that's where the dialogue really starts. Because everybody thinks that you have to come from like an amazing background with money and this, that, the other. You don't. You just have to, just like what Austin's saying, is keep looking every day. Keep looking. It's like a practice. And he's right. Like I do the same thing. I'm looking. This house is selling. Cool Home is selling for this. What are they really asking for? It's been sitting on the market for 152 days. This is the time of your life right now because properties are really sitting for a long period of time right now. So this is where I'm excited because like at any moment you could be like, hey, Dan, I talked to this person and they're ready to sell, but they've been on the market for 200 days. They took off $70,000. That's huge.
And to a lot of people, they'll see that. For the untrained eye, they'll say, oh, wow, he took off 70K. There must be something wrong with the property. But the opportunistic way to look at it is this guy needs to sell. He's a motivated seller. And let's go make an offer 20K under what his 70K off was.
That's
so
right.
There's always opportunity right in front of your eyes. It's just how do you view that opportunity? Do you look at it from a glass half full or a glass half empty mindset? So.
Yeah.
I put us on the market for a long time. It's been on the market for a long time.
So a lot of houses right now. Let's do a trial right now. How can we pull up something and look up? I would love to do that.
Your cell phone right there. That might be the best.
Right. So let's do it right now. Okay. Yeah.
All the multimedia.
We have all the multimedia you can possibly think of. So we're going to go on right now. A lot of houses are sitting right now for anywhere from 60 to 90 days period.
That's standard.
That's it wasn't, but now it is, right? But then you're starting to see a lot of people dropping prices, 10K, 20,000, 30,000. Just like what Austin is saying, everybody's like, oh, something's wrong with that house. For me, I don't see anything wrong with that house. It's just that somebody didn't take the right pictures. I'll never forget this guy. He said they didn't take the right pictures. He went out, got the property under contract, took better pictures. It cost $150 to take better pictures. And and he was able to make 20K. This is somebody I know. I was like, oh my gosh, right? It's all about looking at what's missing, right? The opportunity, what is missing?
So here's an example, the average, and you can always look up this number, the average days on market right now in this month, as compared to last year, 63 days. Last year, it was 51 days. Right, so it's getting longer, right? But then also, so for example, what Nathaniel just said, 90 to 120 days, it's a long time, you know? And if they're willing to drop the price, are there antsy? So the idea, again, is to, for this type of wholesale strategy, one of many strategies that you can use is to buy low and then sell higher, right? A little bit higher or a lot, you know? I mean, $5,000 is $5,000 more than you had before. That's a place to start, right? But it starts with, you know, a lot of times we're looking at Zillow. A lot of the properties that Nathaniel deals with is off-market properties.
Yeah.
And so when I said I'm driving around and I see opportunity, that's because I'm seeing the signs of distressed homes. And those distressed homes are where you'll also be having those conversations, right? And starting to get an understanding of if a person is motivated and doesn't know that they have options. A lot of times people might be upside down in the property and don't know that they have options. And a lot of times they're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna let this bill run up and I'm gonna write it out until I end up in foreclosure. And I'm gonna write that out until I have to leave, right? And thinking that they don't have options, but they do have options. You know, whether that's even to walk away with some money versus nothing, you know? And that's the worst part, right? So you have built this legacy in your house and then you just have nothing to show for it, you know?
I have a question. So I'm Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi. I currently work in corporate. So I have a 9 to 5. I'm looking to get out of that eventually. So transition into real estate. Just met Nicole last night and shared with her that I just purchased my first property. And like the process, like went through all the like. I think I'm currently going underwriting. And they do an extensive like search on your finances, make sure, like they ask for statements to see what you have in your account. So when you say that there's an option to get places without cash or capital, like how? Because I just went through it and it's like I had to put earnest money down and like
Like firstborn and like, yeah.
So one of the ways to do it is just talking to the seller off market, right? And just finding out what they want. And you'd be surprised what sellers want. Some people just want to move. Some people just want cash to leave. You never know unless we ask. A lot of times when I go after deals, I just listen to the people, right? Hey, Carrie, how are you doing? You know, I saw that your property's been sitting here like this. What's going on? Just tell me the story. And they will tell you the story, right? Because you're coming off with, I care. And I can't help it because that's what I do. I care. Because before a transaction is ever done, I have to know who I'm talking to and why they're in this position. Some people love to be in the position of distress. You just never know it, right? But unless you have the conversation, some people need the help, but they just don't know. They have pride. They don't know how to ask for it, right? And then when you come around smiling and sharing, hey, you know, you ever thought about just selling? You know, that's one scenario. There's another scenario where there's people that have a lot of properties. Some of them are sitting vacant as we speak, right? They don't want to deal with tenants anymore. They'd rather sell it to you on terms. A guy literally, and Austin knows about this deal, he was literally going to give me $15,000 to fix up the property that was already rent ready in Melbourne, right? Just because he wanted it on terms. He doesn't need to show that he's making a bunch of money. He needs to show a little loss, right? So now that's a little bit of people with money.
That's creative.
Right?
Right?
That's people with money.
Yeah.
That hey, I can show this as a loss, but I know that I trust you. He came by a referral again by somebody that trusts me, right? So those are those type of deals that really happen with no money. I wasn't going to put any money on it because I have to near it. I was like, I don't get it, if, you know. But it's just a conversation. and building that trust.
Can you go into like a simple wholesale transaction to just kind of give an overview of what that looks like from, you found a seller who is willing to sell to you, right? And then the contract that happens and then how you then sell said contract. And that's kind of what we're talking about when we're saying there's not really any money, or if there is money, it's at the most $1,000, right? And then the contract. So can you share that?
Yeah, I'll tell you about the one that I talked about 2 weeks. The gentleman saw the truck. I have, my truck that you see driving around with the signs. And he called me. He said, "Hey, I gotta leave now." I said, "What do you mean you gotta leave now?" He said, "I got a job. I'm gonna move out." And Nicole went to that property to take pictures because I was out of state. And I simply said, "Okay, what do you really want for it?" He said, "In this market, I think I should be able to take 300 or 280. I said, "Let me get back to you with that." Right? Because I'm not, I was like, "No, that ain't the price." That's not the price in this market, especially when it needs a lot of work. So I said, "All right." 4 days later, I reached out to him. I kept texting, we texting back and forth. "Hey, when are you coming back into town to take a look at the property?" I said, "Hey, I'm gonna come now." I went down there and I said, "Nah, I think that's too high of a price. What do you really want?" Right? And then he told me, but it took a long time of conversation. I actually have a little snippet of the conversation because it was very interesting. I said, "Hey, listen, this is what the market is really showing. You said it was this, but this is what this is right now. And this is what I can offer." I actually didn't even make the offer. I didn't even get to finish the offer. He said, "I'll take 211 or two." No, he said 210. I said, "All right. Let me write this up." I knew that I had a buyer immediately because a 210 pool home in Palmway with, that type of land was perfect, right? No matter what kind of work it is, I said, my guys can do the work. I'll do the work for them, right? So from there, I just talked to people in my network. "Hey guys, I'm going to go take a look at this property."
So just to clarify, so you spoke to him, he said he wants to sell.
Right.
When he says he wants to sell, basically his home, his interest, then you then put the property under contract.
I put the property under contract. Right. So similar to what a contract you would do on a regular house, I still put the same contract together. And, I have a clause, and then I have him fill it out.
And what does that clause say?
Oh, then I may assign the property.
Right. So he's saying that contract basically says that Nathaniel can assign his interest in that property to anyone he wants, right? And generally what happens then is then you go to your network.
Yeah, I go to my network.
Sorry, are you acting as the real estate agent?
No, this is not an agent deal.
So that's the difference.
So you have a contract with.
I have a contract with the seller
saying
that I can assign it to any of my.
The buyer's name will, on the contract, there's the seller and then the buyer. So in this instance, the buyer's name will read like Nathaniel Cochran or his LLC, and then it will say /or assigns. That gives him the ability to assign that contract to another buyer. So if he wraps it up under contract for 210 in this instance, and then there's a whole nother story that he talked about, which I think is a good takeaway here, which is a separate thing. But if he sees the value being currently 230, he knows that he can go assign that contract for somebody for 230. And then he makes the 20K spread at the time of closing. So he's not closing on the property. He's just wrapping the property under contract under market value, and then going to his network, marketing out that property, listing it at 230 or advertising it at 230. And then he goes and hopefully somebody grabs it for 230, or if he even somebody grabs it for 220, he's probably okay with that because he still knows that there's a 10K margin for him.
Right. Zero money. And I want to make the distinction though, just before we go, so a real estate agent markets the property.
Yeah.
A wholesaler markets the contract.
Right.
That's the difference.
I'm selling my interests in the deal, right? So I have a contract. I'm selling my contract.
Sorry, do you have a question?
And while you have your contract, this seller can't do anything with it. But
Once
they
you
can
have a
still-
contract,
once you have a contract with the
Right.
seller,
Mhm.
can they sell the property?
people have tried to do that. I'm very experienced, so there's also, that's a good question. That's a very advanced question.
And it happens.
Yes, it has happened, right? And the only way that you can really substantiate and hold claim on that property is by filing paperwork, which is a affidavit of memorandum. And then you fight for it.
Which is basically, hey, I'm saying honor what you originally put in. the
Right, but
contract.
you would still really have whatever they sell it for, you get that spread,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Right.
So as soon
So
as they
they
try to
can
go
work too.
close, I never like talking about this one because this is a rough game. But as soon as they close, yes, they have to pay. I don't like that. What's that?
What happens if you don't find someone? Someone else to sign it to?
What happens if you don't buy?
You hold it.
Well, I don't like that advice, though. Don't do that.
No,
Because,
the goal is definitely not that.
I do that, but, and that's again, having a network. So there was a property that I was trying to wholesale and it was upside down. At the time, it was very new to dealing with foreclosures. And what I did was I kept it for 3 years, and I rented it out and was able to make income on it while I was short selling the property. So that got a lot complicated because I had an attorney and I had a broker that was negotiating. So again, and a title company that was backing it up, right? So in other words, they were holding all my paperwork.
This is a team.
Under contract
Yeah.
for 3 years?
Yeah, no. So that it was under contract, and then I talked to the seller. She can't sell it. She's in foreclosure. She already extracted all of the money out because it was sitting there for 2 years, right? But she didn't want to, just give it away, right? So we talked, and then I had her sign paperwork and a deed. So I own that property. That's different. So I consider that kind of seller financing. What would you say, Austin? That would be kind of seller financing, right?
Yeah, almost like a sub 2 in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
One other thing.
Can I know what a sub 2 is?
Yeah, so sub 2 is it's subject to is what it is long for. The premise behind sub 2 is you are taking over somebody's existing mortgage. So let's look at today's interest rate, roughly around 6.5% interest rate. Tough market to be in. But back in COVID, when COVID started, the government was printing money, federal interest rate was 0%. And the average interest rate in 2021 was, I think, 2.75% interest rate, which is roughly 4.5% lower than what it is today. So the premise behind sub 2 is you are taking over the deed to somebody's property and you are taking over their mortgage as well. The benefit to the seller is normally you creatively structure the deal where they get a higher price than what the value is today. So if the value today is $400,000, let's say they owe $300,000 to their lender. Instead of you, the buyer, paying them off the 300, what did I say the value was? 400,000. Instead of you paying the 400,000 to the seller and getting an interest rate at 6.5% of what it is today, you're saying, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I'll pay you 25 or 50 grand or whatever the number you come up with. I'll pay that to you cash. I'll over what the value of the property is. I will take over your mortgage and you'll deed me the property. The benefit is a dual benefit to the buyer and the seller. The benefit to the buyer is they're not paying a 6.5% interest rate. They're paying a 2.5% or whatever the rate is on the mortgage currently, which is lower. And the benefit to the seller is that they are getting a higher value than what it's valued at today, because the buyer knows if I can keep this low rate mortgage, I can cash flow higher. And if I hold it for a period of time, it's going to appreciate in value higher than what it is today. So it's a win-win for both parties. The number one question I hear from skeptics is, well, what happens if the buyer stops making the mortgage payment? And why would the buyer stop making the mortgage payment? Because they have money in the deal and they lose all that money that they had in the deal if they stop making payments. And the third thing would be they've invested time and money that completely goes away. Fourth thing is there's normally equity in the deal. So if for some reason the new owner runs out of money and can't make a payment, they can just fire sell the property because there's equity to quickly sell it at under market value again. So normally there's attorneys involved with sub too, but it's another creative way to structure a deal where you as the potential buyer don't need any money in the deal. And I know I mentioned 25, 50K, but you could structure it creatively where it's no money out of pocket on terms, which is what Nathaniel said. So you could say, hey, I'll pay you $5,000 a month or $2,000 a month over a 2-year period. Instead of paying you 25K up front, I'll pay you $2,000 a month. And again, these are just very random numbers that I'm pulling out of my head, but the concept and premise behind it is it's a win-win strategy that you don't necessarily have to put money in the deal to have.
And it's all about that creativity, right? And it's just rethinking things, and that's what I love about it. It's just rethinking. There's investors that said they would trade houses. One wanted a house on the beach for a certain price that he couldn't get on the market. So he traded another person the house. And that was a deal that worked for both people, right? There's so many different opportunities. It's just, again, having that conversation, having a network that also speaks that language. That's what I love talking about Austin. He shared it with me. Amazing. I'm going to share it anyway.
Wait.
Yeah.
Questions? Any questions? Yeah. There was a lot just now.
I'm really focused on this wholesale strategy. So the sub two, I heard it, I understand it, but that's not
That's not where you're at right now. I hear you. But just so you guys have an idea, because I hear like people, and these guys, they've been in it forever, right? So they're gonna throw terms around. So I just want to make sure everyone is on the even plane.
Yeah, she's keeping us on track with the terms. Because I just think this is a language. It is a language too.
Yeah, that's what's up.
It is a language. And we don't know it until we're like, other people are like, what did you just say? Like how you call me out, that's great.
Carrie, do you have any questions? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. All right. With no money, you can do a deal with no money.
selling
contracts or talking to the owners and finding what they truly want.
That
They
sounds
might-
like you need to have
Yeah.
a network.
Yeah,
That's the big pro to meeting someone like Nathaniel, meeting someone like Michael Charles. It's having these people who've been doing it. And so, I can't even tell you, Nathaniel does all the really crazy, really deep, hard to do deals. So because of that, he's built a really strong network of people. And so if you have a question, or you need a buyer, or you need this, not only can he tell you where to go, what to do, how to do it, because he's done it before, but he's saying, I'm able to share this with you, and that's the best part. Because your success is really all of our success.
Right.
So how do you start to build your network? Let's say, yes, like partnership through others who already have it, but like, how did you start?
How did I start? I got a messy deal and I couldn't wholesale it, because I had wholesaled before. And I was like, okay, I got this, looking, and then that deal that was upside down. And that same time I was able to get like 3 or 4 at the same kind of stuff that nobody wanted. It's very easy to find the stuff that nobody wants. And nobody knows, it's too much headache. No, we're not gonna touch it. All right, it's too upside down. There's no equity.
Explain upside down.
Upside down is no equity. That's my mom, by the way. Mom and dad, thank you for joining us. So upside down means no equity. So that means
It means you owe
Yeah.
more than what the value of the property is.
what the value of the house is. So if a house value is 275, but it owes 330, right? It ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work as a wholesale deal. It's not gonna work as a conventional buy. So you would have to have a strategy. And then I remember talking to one of my guys named Josh. I said, hey, listen, I got this upside down property. I need a title company that knows how to deal with this. Do you know anybody? That was a simple conversation. He said, oh, I heard of this group. Let me get you in contact with them. And he put me on the phone with them, and I got excited because I'm talking real estate. They were like, oh, this guy, you've done some stuff. I said, yeah, I'm really excited. I want to get this one done. And then that's when I started doing it. Then one deal was so bad that the person died, right? It was, they moved from the property, left the property, but then in the middle of doing the short sale, they passed. And then I had to get a probate attorney. Right, good looking. I had all of these contracts and paperwork involved, but again, everything was a step. I kept the knowledge that I was getting from one wild deal to tailor the others. Right, so I have the limited power of attorney. I have to have that because I don't know what you're going to do. You might say, you know what, I am out of the country. I'm never coming back. I need to know that I can speak to the bank. I need to speak to the code enforcement board. I need to speak to all of these scenarios. I need to be able to do that. The letter of authorization. All of these are forms that I had to go through the process in order to understand and get it. Bank
So
said, no, we're not going to
what
talk.
happened
Yeah.
before that? So I remember, you said in the very, very beginning, you would just call.
Oh, yeah.
You would just call title companies. Like you need title
I
company,
visited them
you
too.
just call
Yeah.
and go talk to them. This is just regular,
Yeah.
hey, I'm trying to learn about this. Hey, I'm gonna be wholesaling soon. Do you work with that? Do you handle these types
At
of
the time I
deals?
was doing wholesaling, it was like, we don't do wholesaling, right? And then, so like what you said, a suit. I went to each title, I went to 5 in Palm Bay, Melbourne. And I've never forget one, I was coming in and the owner was coming out. And she said, oh, you're all dressed up. And I started just talking. And she's from New York. So, we have a lot in common. I'm from New York. We started talking. Then she introduced me to people. Right. So that was just me just being bold and just talking. Right. Again, just like visiting is what taught me a lot. And then calling. Like, yeah, well, they see me do it. Can't lie, knock on doors. And I knock on doors. Attorneys need business. You get what I'm saying? Title companies need business. They want to do business. You just have to find out who do you want to work with, right? And who's knowledgeable to do the type of deals you're going to do. And that's the conversation that you have when you knock on the door. Hey, my name is Nathaniel. I'm really excited about real estate. What services do you offer? That's the question right there. Do you have lending? Do you know a lender? Do you do private mortgages? All of these are little questions. Do you have an attorney? My goal was to have one that has an attorney, just in case I was dealing with a subject to deal that was bad and the foreclosure and I needed to litigate. So that was my conversation. Who's an attorney that I have in there?
How about your buyers? How did you build your buyers? That's also kind of like that bigger question, right?
Yeah.
So like,
How do you
just meet buyers off the street? They're not like just at, Walmart.
All right, so
Or they are.
you never know.
They are, yeah.
You never know. I went to a lot of real estate investor meetings, right? That was the first step.
REIA, right?
REI, yeah, REI, yeah. And I went to one in Orlando.
And that's Real Estate Investor Association.
Yeah.
There's one locally.
Every
city.
Every city. So it doesn't matter where you're going in any deal, you need to at least go to one of those in their area. So if I'm going to do any investing in Atlanta or South Carolina, I already will know and put a list and go to those. Because I need to find out who's doing what and how they're doing it. So that's the first step. And then I would actually, people discourage it. but I would put up an ad in Craigslist.
Mhm.
Hey, I have a house for sale, fixer upper, right? And people don't do it anymore, but that's what I had to do. Austin, I had to do it. So
I was gonna say, like, another idea that I've seen work is I belong to like 200 real estate investing Facebook pages, and there's software where people will post a deal, and then everybody will comment their email addresses to send it to that send the deal to that person. Well, there's software that you can go in and it scrubs everybody's email, so you just add that to your buyer base, and then when you get a deal that you want to wholesale, you already have 10,000 emails that you can just blast that deal to and advertise it however you want to advertise it to. It's another strategy as well.
Very good strategy. I mean, those Austin's a genius with tech, so is Nicole. They do it. That really is a game changer. I didn't even tap into the Facebook until recently, like later on. But like the Craigslist, that kind of stuff. The Facebook, man, you get a lot of people on there. One of my wholesale deals came right off of Facebook as well, through one of the groups. They said, hey, I see that you're doing real estate. I have a property. It's in Cocoa. We have no buyers. I said, all right, I'll take a look at it. And I took a look at it and I, shot it to one of my people and they bought it, So it was like in 3-4 days, just like that. Okay. And we still have this, 114 Dudley in Cocoa. They're renovating, getting it done. So that happens a lot. So go through Facebook, just like I also go through Nextdoor. Give me all of my, let's throw it all on them. Nextdoor is legendary because obviously everyone's talking stuff about whatever, and but there's also people that say, hey, listen, I'm cleaning out a house. Oh, why are you cleaning out the house? Right? Ask those questions. Hit that comment. Right? Another thing is yard sales. I definitely went to several yard sales, and at least 1 or 2 of them were live deals. They didn't want to sell the price I want, but you go to them because that gets that rhythm going. Plus, you could find some really amazing stuff, right? You're also conversating. You're having conversations. The more conversations you have, is the better. And you already have good conversations. So the more conversations, yeah.
People tend to remember you too. So if you come, they may not need you now, but they may need you in the future, or may know somebody else, somebody that may need you, right? So like you said, the more conversations you have, the more people know what you do and what who you are. That's the way that you can find more people. And like I said, he has his logo on his truck. He clearly says what he does. He's a phone or something, right? Brand yourself. It's all about branding at that point. So
I love that. And let me tell you, I want you all both to do something, everyone to do something. Go on Facebook and just in your, where they say your whatever you're thinking, whatever you're thinking, your status. Say, hey, I'm looking for houses that look abandoned. And just wait.
we'll start popping up on.
Oh yeah, somebody's gonna send you something. Then the next post, hey, I'm interested in buying real estate. Anybody can help.
That's
Right?
a good point.
These are
What you're
conversations.
doing is that Facebook is your network.
Your network will surprise you. That's what I have to say. Your network will surprise you. It's just that you don't know how to use it. Right. So that's why I love the real estate deal app. The whole concept is because we're trying to share how to use what you already have going on. It's right there. So yeah.
So I want to transition for a second. And, so a lot of people think that, you have to have money. Now we know the ways that you don't necessarily have to have money, right? We have a way to just sell your interest in a contract. But say that, you want to use a different kind of financial vehicle, right? Like a HELOC or one of these things, right? And you might not have to have crazy credit, but maybe credit is something that you're worried about. Right? Because I think everybody kind of just thinks about that. You just went through the ringer, right? With that whole transaction. And, Michael Charles, I want you to just shed some light on, how you got started in this, and then, what you do for that person who's kind of looking to make some changes and what that could look like?
For me, as far as how I got into the game, really was actually purchasing a home. Like when it was time for me to buy a home, being told no. Why? Because my credit wasn't up to par, and I never gave it any thought. And I never looked into it, never thought it even mattered, right? It's not something that we're ever taught in school, not something that's the information is widely available to us. So that forced me to get into it, and then forced me to focus on really the intricacies of credit in itself and what I really need to be able to realize that I'm able to leverage a $200,000 home with less than $10,000. It's like, oh, I have credit a lot to do that. Okay, what other things can I do? So I was able to also purchase vehicles without having to put money down, right? And understanding why I'm at the time I had like a 713 score was better. I was getting better approvals with individuals that had 850s, right? Perfect credit. And understanding that your profile is more important than your score. A lot of people don't understand that you can have a high score but have a thin profile and would still have rejections on loan applications, rejections on car loans or anything else like that, right? So it's understanding the key concepts of what creditors are looking for when you are seeking out, whether it's credit cards, whether it is a loan, whether it's any type of funding opportunity that you're looking to get to leverage your credit. So 5 concepts, 5 pieces of credit is your credit history, your credit utilization. Those are the 2 top. Credit utilization is 35% of your score. Credit history, which is payment wise, is 30% of your score. That alone puts you over 65% of your score. And those are the biggest impacts that I see that people that inquire. Basically, where utilization is high. They either get credit cards, they get a lot of credit cards, and they just don't manage it properly. Or they get very limited credit cards and max out those $300, $500 credit cards, and the utilization is through the roof, even though they only spent $300, it drops their score to 600. Right? Being able to get understanding, okay, how do I get myself in a position so where I can qualify for higher limit credit cards, so where I can use it on a daily basis, use credit on a daily basis without impacting my credit score. Payment history, all of those are habits that people, unfortunately, we get into hard situations and we get late payments, and one late payment can drop your score 100 times. So you get a 700, have a perfect life, and you can just have a bunch of payments and you're 600. Next day, late payment, they go over and over. So those are the impacts, and finding out what really the key concepts of what I need to do to keep my credit score high, not only my score, but my profile, and also what lenders are doing. So, that's basically how I got into it. Rather than, I guess, going off, I would definitely love to answer questions versus just going off, because I can take so many different angles on what you need if you're looking to buy a house, looking to buy a car, looking to do a business, how to transfer, how to hide utilization if you have high utilization issues. Like there's a lot of things.
All right, let's start with that one, the high utilization.
Okay.
How do we?
Which is very common. If you have utilization problem, utilization is what's involving credit. So that means credit cards. You can have a loan, mortgage, and all that. That's not reflecting on your utilization. One recommendation, if you are a regular consumer, is to just get a personal. You can qualify for a personal loan at a credit union where you normally bank because you have a relationship with them. They see your paychecks coming in there, so they grade you based off your relationship, and you're likely to qualify if you're saying that, hey, I'm just transferring this debt over so I can get a better term versus you paying 20-30%. You can get a personal loan through your credit union. Now, if you are in a position to where your credit is just not bad, right? You've had late payments, you've had bad decisions throughout, right? You're less likely to get approved. They do have subprime lenders that will qualify you for loans. The rates are a little bit high, but they're lower than credit cards. So if you have a 30% credit card, 30% interest rate credit card, getting a 20% loan is way better off, right? If you're able to transfer that into a personal loan, it removes the utilization and automatically moves your score. So you still own the debt, you're still responsible for paying the debt, but that debt itself is hidden or transferred into another vehicle to where it's not reporting the same way.
I just got the nuggets.
What about balance transfers?
Balance transfers can, but you gotta get qualified for it, right? You, it's like balance transfers, that's, you can qualify or you can apply for credit cards, that have 0% interest rates. And there's plenty of companies that offer 0% interest rates for 12 months, 18 months, and even up to 21 months. If you qualify for those, cards, you can transfer any of your debt over to that. Now, you can't be over leveraged to qualify for that. I recommend, I'm pretty sure everybody's heard that they recommend that your credit is or your utilization at 30% or under. If you're at that point, you're more than likely to get qualified for any of those. But if you're any higher, those chances are lower because the more utilized, the more riskier you look to lenders. Obviously, you need to balance transfer because you have high debt and you're paying that, right? So I recommend that you look the best that you can, get it at least 45%. You know, if you're over 50%, just try to get it to 45%, and then start seeking out those banks that offer the 0% interest. Chase, the most common ones, Chase, Truist, Navy, American Express even offers that thing too, and then they also pre-qualify. So that means you can get pre-qualified for that, you know, knowing that you're going to get the card before you can apply for it. So you can seek out pre-qualification credit cards. Just Google that alone will show you that, show you the options out there, and it won't even impact your credit. And you'll get a soft quote and let you know if you qualify or not. Give them a reason why you need the credit card when you want to transfer your debt, and they will go through the questionnaires and things of that nature.
So what is I'm excited because like this is new knowledge I didn't know anything about. What does consultation with you say? Like, hey, I have all these high limit credit cards that are almost maxed out. What do I do? So I brought them to you. What do I do?
Consultations free. I charge the I like to have a conversation. Most of my consultations, I usually set them up for 15 minutes. They go on that. So what I do, I just create a customized plan based on your situation. If it's your that's an impact, I try to create a plan that would be beneficial for you. If you're a business owner, that's even better, right? Because you can, if you have a LLC or a business, you can actually put your debt towards your business. Because a lot of business owners, what they do now, they use their personal credit to start their business, start their things, but just transfer the business, structure your business properly, and then you'll be able to qualify for certain funding and then transfer that over, and it will be your personal loan, and you just fund all your expenses to your business. There's ways to do that. If you don't have a business, you're just in a position to where, like, okay, you're working a 9 to 5, and you just need a plan. You just need something. I can give you like, payment plan, like, hey, you just, pay these cards off at this certain point. It'll boost your score down to this level. And then these are lenders that usually qualify people for, for credit cards or for some type of line of credit with a 640 credit score, with 680 credit score, 720 credit score. You're probably likely to get qualified people there, based off the score. So
how long does usually the product, I'm taking up all the questions. How long does the process really take?
Average time for debt or for repair, because there's two different things. There's boosting your score and there's also repair. Repair meaning that you have negative items on your credit report, collections, charge-offs, bankruptcies, late payments. All those items can be removed off your credit, just FYI too. And you're in control of your credit report. It's called your consumer report. You are a consumer. It's your report. You are in control of what's being reported on there and what's not being reported on there. And there are obligations that these credit bureaus have to abide by. And if they are breaking that law and you step up and you say this information should not be on my report because of this, and that reason, you have the right to speak up and you have the right to basically call them out on their, I'm gonna say yes, but I was trying to say yes. You can call them out on their, on this stuff and make them remove it off your credit report by using the law. That's the FCRA, which is the Fair Reporting Credit Act, basically saying that your consumer report has to be 100% accurate. We all know there's 3 credit bureaus. There's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Your scores are never alike. I ran into a lot of people. 80% of Americans have incorrect information on their credit report. inaccuracies on your credit report, by law, should not be on your report.
Is that why like Experian would be 720 and then the other one is like 620 and it's like vast difference like that?
Something was reported to them. They are reporting agencies, which means that the collectors or the debt collectors or the creditors, they report to those bureaus. Not even bureaus, but they're agencies. They're not bureaus. Bureaus are government-based businesses. If you ever go to their website, it's not .gov, it's .com. So they're not bureaus. So they are agencies, and all they do is collect data. Sometimes they collect the wrong data, and the wrong data is being reported on your consumer report. That's impacting your commerce, your ability to purchase a home, your ability to you continue life as normal. If that's impacting, if their report is impacting you, you have the right to report them.
So what I'm hearing is we have more power than we think we do.
Way more power.
Question. Sorry, I'm so sorry that I was late.
No.
Hi, how are you? My name is Beatrice. I feel like non-A. But for us so the original lender or loaner, right? Like years ago, I've been told, right? That like if they put you to court or whatever the case may be, and they're still coming after you after a debt was like probably over 10 years, and they changed lenders. You know what I mean? So what do we do with that situation? Like where it was transferred or it's gone to another company or another person or whatever, or agency. What do we do with that?
There's two pieces to that. One is the statute of limitation. Each state has its own statute of limitation, meaning that collectors or debt collectors have a limited time frame where they can come after you for a debt that you owe. So before the statute of limitation is 5 years, meaning within a 5-year time frame, they can come and sue you. They can send you a summons, say, hey, you need to pay this debt, and they can come after you. If it's beyond that statute of limitations, they start losing power, right? And they can't come and sue you. That's just, it's still going to be reported on your credit report for up to 7 years. It cannot be reported after 7 years. After 7 years, it has to be revoked. And it is. There's laws that you can use to remove it. Now, I can actually give you the law. You can look it up. It's literally something you can see the laws that you can take action on that. And if the second piece to that, where you said they sold it on to somebody else to try to restart the time frame, that's also illegal. That's illegal to where they're not allowed to restart a debt entity based off the last transaction that you've had with that company. It's the start of that clock. That 5-year clock of the time that they can come after you for something, and then also the time of the clock for 7 years for it to be reported on their credit report. If they restart that time, it's again breaking the law unless you go in and you do something, you make a payment or something, you make an agreement with them, then obviously that does restart. If you end up doing, but if you do not take any action and you do not
like if they call and everything else, and you don't answer that phone call.
Now I don't recommend that. I do recommend that you do answer the phone call.
Okay.
More than likely it is a debt collector calling you for you to pay them, but you actually don't owe them. And this is where the second piece of it. If they sold your debt to somebody else, they wrote it off on their taxes, got money off of it, and that person bought it for 10 cents to the dollar, and they're trying to collect whatever portion of that they can get from you, but you have no obligation to that third party collector.
Correct.
That third party collector, you have no contract saying that you're going to pay that company. You have nothing that shows that you actually have any obligations to them. You may have an obligation to AT&T, Spectrum, whatever, but you have no obligations to that third party collector. So what I always say is something you end up getting the phone calls. Advise them like, hey, I don't want you to call my phone anymore. I need you to mail me information of this alleged debt that you say that I owe. I need you to send me any information that I owe you a debt. Okay, sure, no problem. We'll do that. So can you confirm your address? No, you should have my address on file. Please use the address that you have on file. They cannot confirm or validate that debt belongs to you. They cannot put it on your credit report. So nothing, again, it cannot be validated. if it's inaccurate or it's not verifiable, then they cannot be applied onto your report. And then you can submit a cease and desist, and they have to stop it. They don't stop you, you have to sue them. If it's third-party collector.
Okay. When you started talking, you were saying something you didn't learn that in school.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you go to school to teach kids and people, or you go somewhere and teach the kids that? Because right up in front of high school kids, they have credit cards, stands right there. As soon as they're getting out of high school.
Yeah.
So do you go to high schools and places and teach kids and young people now? Or any, I mean, they're grown now, they can come and consult with you, but young people.
Right now, I leverage social media to basically speak out, so I do provide this information freely every day, right? And I use my platform to speak the truth and allow people to know what's really out there and what can be done and what they can do. Opportunities to speak at school have come to place, but competence, obviously, to be able to step up and be able to make sure it's structured properly. I have not done, just haven't been able to do that. And I'm growing in myself. So just, as I grow into the business, as I gain more knowledge, as I feel more of a authority figure in the field, then I'll be, I feel like.
You are an authority. Don't play. Right, let's do that.
I'm not an authority, we all just learned something.
Yeah,
Right.
Right. The way you spoke was just very profound, and how do I say it?
It's very transparent.
It's very
Like,
transparent.
it's not a threat, it's clear understanding.
Normally, you don't
It's
get that.
correct, and it's not, you're not minimizing.
We didn't get any fluff.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And that's what the whole real estate deal is about.
Usually
Yeah.
it's like smoke here.
correct,
Like, oh yeah,
correct,
I can help you with your credit repair.
correct,
And then you're jumping through hoops and,
Yes.
maybe you send this letter, but you're
right,
giving us not only the straight up information, but
Right.
the laws and the things to back it.
Right.
And you said the difference between the 5 years and the 7 years. I didn't know that.
correct.
I think all in my head was the 7 years, but I didn't realize, okay, you're supposed to stop harassing me after 5 years.
Right.
It's not harassing.
But when you said the answer, no one.
No one does
Right.
that. No one does that.
Right.
Anyone says, don't answer.
Cause my thing, I'm like, dude, they call me, I'm like, look, sorry.
It's like a scam likely.
Right,
You know,
right.
keep going.
And
That's
you,
powerful.
yeah, and like you said, when you said they don't teach. us
No.
that.
No.
People are real estate deal. We're gonna get them in
So,
schools.
we're gonna
You're
make
already
it
in
work.
schools.
You're the thing,
Yeah.
Churchill. You're the
Yeah.
thing, because you know 1,000% more than any kid in a classroom.
And by the way, like, I had no idea that I was gonna meet you, cause I just saw you on social media like couple days ago.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and it was crazy, cause I was like,
Okay, Spirit.
right? So I was like, okay, here you go with this whole credit thing. Don't play with my emotions. And then to have you here, it's remarkable. You know, it's confirmation. So, I mean, just really do what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you're kicking knowledge to others that really never
Needed.
had that opportunity.
Right.
And being transparent, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's really allowing us to think outside that box. Because again, at the end of the day, we've been known, right? This is the structure, this is what's going on.
And it comes
You
with a
have
lot
to,
of fear.
correct,
You remove the fear.
correct.
You know, the word that we hear, bureau,
You do.
bureau is a very official word. That
Correct.
makes you think,
You
oh,
remove
well,
the
this is not a
fear.
company.
I'm an investor, right? So like, as soon as you were talking, I was like, yeah, I love it. You know, wait a minute. And you could leverage it. This is a market that is not tapped, is the contractors. Contractors are known for robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Correct.
And when I got into construction, I realized how bad that we could be with it, because we're spending thousands in a day. Today alone, $20,000. You're like, damn, we can't get that back immediately. So you're doing a bunch of different jobs, right? Trying to get it back, right? Contractors are always hit with that, always, right? So that's why they leverage other contractors that have larger pockets, right? But a lot of the smaller ones that doing 5-6 houses a year, they need this information, Because as soon as I do any deals or a net 30s, all this stuff, net 30s is when I pay 30 days, which I don't do because I like paying cash and not worrying about it again, right? But forget that. I can scale by doing that. You get what I'm saying? So like, yeah, you got to market, man. I got you.
You gave us a lot of.
A lot of game right now.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
I was blown away. I was like, wait, utilization, what?
Right.
What?
We all want a consultation.
Yeah. Look at Tommy said 0. He said 0% for years.
Where did you get all that knowledge?
Like being able to just
So
stop,
you're an entrepreneur by yourself doing this?
stop doing everything that I was doing.
How long?
Stop, literally for 4 years. I stopped
Wow.
Netflix, I stopped everything. And it just goes back to opportunity, seeing the opportunities and being able to look at things a lot differently. This goes back to theory. It's called, I butcher this every time, the red car theory, right? If I ask you right now, how many red cars did you pass on the way here? You probably wouldn't be able to answer that totally, right? But if I told you now, on your way home, for every red car that you see, I'll give you $5 for that red car. I promise you.
I see all of it.
Yo.
You'll be looking at every red car.
100 red cars.
Cause I just bought a car, right? It's a 2025, right? Like seriously, I promise you, I feel like, cause I bought this car, everybody wants this, right? Everybody, I'm seeing the car everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why you guys want to have it? You know what I mean? But it's so true though.
You just start seeing those opportunities because you're focused on it. So for me, I was just focused on, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I help, these individuals? I came from my family. Like I came from an upbringing where like my mother was always in need. My mother's from Ireland, she's from Haiti, so she always. She's always, from growing up, I was that responsible. I was the last child. I was the one that always would be like, okay, let's read these bills, let's figure out what she wanted. She had to figure out deals. I had to go through, and then when she wanted to sign up for everything, had to deal with all that. So I grew up, right? And then I also felt like the need to be the like right now, I'm like lawyer, I'm the doctor, I'm everybody. Responsibility just comes. It comes with
Yeah, you already right. You're the sandwich generation. So we're the island kids. We have to take care of all of it. And it's so large,
Right.
But
Right.
Oh, look at this time. This time, that's like my son. He had a meeting once at Dunkin' Donuts. And it was one of those aha moments. It makes you feel like, I should have known that 20 years ago.
Right.
I wouldn't have lost my house. You know what I mean? So what you're saying is the same thing, like he is, that you tell us all this stuff about credit cards and this and that and that and that. That we should know that 20 years ago.
But now you're gonna get a better house.
So it's something that you have to share. You have to share. Join the group with him. Share it because it's needed.
we're talking about the house that they.
They're
Yeah,
done.
go ahead. Oh, she's talking about that house. And again, not knowing that information,
Yeah.
right? They bought a property. We grew up in it. They built it. And they said, oh, we want to start a business. And that was back then. So they said, all right, we'll buy this property and that property. And we lost a child at home. So that's like a part of my story, right? But when I look at how much they lost it for, we're talking money that they could have gotten anywhere, right? But they got these bills coming in the mail, right? And all of that
It's just
trauma,
pressure.
right?
And
And I have rebuilding mortgages. We gotta choose which one we're gonna do.
Life be
Right?
life.
Life in recession was recession, right?
Telling everybody your business.
Right.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
honored.
Being vulnerable.
I'm gonna tell you,
Vulnerable.
I love what you're doing.
If you don't speak your
God,
business,
it's your diet secret.
Right.
Right. We don't test.
So we were dying secretly, right?
We don't talk.
And I remember coming back years later, I started learning how to find what they lost it for, right? And I said, I'm gonna get $10,000 on the street. I'm right or wrong. And I just drove that street until I found the house. And it was one of the best houses on the block with a pool. That was the first deal that was upside down. We made $148,000 on that deal. And that's the house I owned for 3 years. That's the house I had to learn I had to learn it. But I did not stop because that 3 houses down, I had went there, the very first house, I said, hey, listen, would you sell it to me for $72,000? He said, nah. I remember what he got it for. He got it for $30,000. My parents could have definitely, but no one knew. They didn't know to look at the court records. At that time, people got free houses, free, right? Because the bank didn't show up. And when the bank didn't show up, a lot of them were just wrote stuff off the books. One of my guys, he's a contractor, he got his lot back. He had bought it for $100,000. Like, it was up there. People don't remember how people were buying lots for $100,000 because everybody thought it was going to be a boom. Then bank wrote it off. He had a whole 3 lot back. He only paid like almost 80 on it. But again, this is real stuff. And again, I drove that. That's what you got to do. Just drive. I never forget. And it's a mindset. Like we have that hunger, right? But it comes from some pain.
Correct.
It
always comes.
It comes from some deep pain.
Every success,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Or
Deep
every,
pain.
you know, you have to go through the pain
Yeah.
to get that impact.
Yeah.
Because it's different. There's a difference.
I wouldn't be trying to help nobody
Right.
if I didn't go through that type of pain.
Correct.
Right.
You know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
You know what it feels like.
I knew what it was.
Correct. And it's not
Yeah.
just checking that box and
No.
like, okay, this is what I need.
No.
No, and being able to educate
Yes,
the community
yes.
and
That's why
being
we call breaking barriers.
correct and
Breaking
having
barriers.
that, because again, the thing, like, especially today's society where life be life and we're living paycheck by paycheck. We want to invest, right? But we're scared to invest because again, that's our lives.
Hey, mom is sick. You know, my child is
Yeah.
sick. You know how many people got wiped out because of one sickness,
Yeah.
right? And it's just good people.
Yeah.
Lady was bawling on the phone. I just talked to her, you know, months back, bawling on the phone. Felt like she did the wrong thing. I said, no, this happens to millions of Americans every single day. Every single day. If life didn't life to me, I would be like, you know, I'd be nose in the air, not knowing anything, right? But we had to go through some pain.
Whatever
Right.
you need to do
Yeah.
to get to the schools, or get to the colleges, and get to.
Mom, keep coming with me.
We connect, we're gonna connect.
Can I
Okay.
Keep coming with me.
Sure,
Yes.
very sure.
Come on.
Remember, this is COVID,
Yeah.
so do what you have to do for the test.
I have a quick question before you move on, specifically about business credit. How do you leverage that to get into real estate?
To get into real estate, a lot of deals that you will be coming through won't really need business credit for the most part, right? Real estate, because you're doing a lot of creative financing on that part, on that end, especially if you're doing fix and flips, right? You do need to make sure that your personal credit is available, because as you get more deals, you want to be able to leverage some relationships, and they will look into your credit. They will want to look and see how you're managing your personal credit. I would say hide your debt with your business credit. Like, you do everything, you just filter everything through your business. So if you can establish a business today, LLC, make sure it's a separate entity structured properly with business address, business phone number, business website, business email, separated, create a bank account, and just having money, like have all your debt, that's going through like your credit cards. If you're swiping your cards to put gas in your car, you're swiping your card to buy equipment and things like that, you can do that. You can use that to be able to, meet your personal credit alone. There are a lot of opportunities and a lot of funding that you can. There's just so many that I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What could you use it for? Because there's revenue-based lending that you can use. You can have merchant advance credit, or merchant advance fees or credit, I think it is. There's so many funding opportunities that you can do. Business credit is good, but it's not the end all be all. just having a business altogether is where you want to, what you want to have, right? Once you start having revenue in your business, then business credit really starts to matter. Like you can't, I know there's a lot of gurus out there like, okay, let's build your business credit, start leveraging your business credit so you can be able to, get credit cards with solely your business. That's any bank, any reputable bank will always go for your credit, your personal credit score. It's just a.
Okay, I just, like, vulnerable. I did, like, open up an LLC this year, and I, like, set up the bank account, start a credit card. And he said, like, put all the debt in business credit card. I am just a little hesitant to do it.
Okay.
I, like, use my personal credit card. But you talk about utilization being really important for your personal. So if I'm putting all of my swipes on my biz credit card, how do I show them actually utilizing personal cards?
You still keep your accounts open. You could
Just keep it open, but I don't even have to use it. Like I don't just charge.
dollars here.
Yeah.
To me, that's not really using it, right? You can have, you really just need to have the limits open. Like it's really having the structure, having about 2 or 3 credit cards. You don't need about 15, 20 credit cards, right? You need 2 or 3 credit cards with high limits, $2,000 or more. Have a history of a loan, some type of installment loan, car loan, mortgage is important too. If you're renting, you can actually add your rent on your credit report as an installment loan and have that report, quote unquote, like a mortgage in a sense. So have some type of loan on there. So 2 or 3 credit cards, about 2 installment loans. So that's about 5 accounts. If you have that alone, if the higher your limits, the more foundation that your profile has, right? And the history is also important. Lenders love to see your history 10 years or more, right? So the earlier you can start, the better. So if you have children, highly recommend get them into Discover. Discover is a good credit card to get them into, and they can open a secure credit card and it transitions into a regular credit card after 6 months of utilization. So they just buy stacks with it, put gas in the car, Uber with it, whatever, and pay it back after 6 months. It turns into a regular credit card, and they also upgrade your limit so you don't have to get another credit card. Maybe Fed, a lot of banks offer high limit credit cards to where $30,000, $50,000 is not off the limit. I got a $33,000 credit card. I got a $22,000 credit card. I did things that a normal consumer wouldn't do just because I was just trying to figure out what I could get and everything else. But you just need about 2 or 3 $2,000 limits, and then you should be fine. And you keep those accounts open. Don't close accounts. One thing that I see people do or hear people say, like, this card, I'm not doing anything with it. I'm scared to use it. Let me go ahead and close it. It actually impacts your credit when you close it. So put it in your drawer. Put it in your drawer. Every 6 months, take it out and just buy a Big Mac. Or buy something with it.
But to be nice Big Mac. What's wrong? So I would like to get smaller.
Pineapple.
I'll add to what you're asking about, because there's investor loans, there's real estate investor loans, and Austin, he's out there right now, but I really wanted to share some of the products. One of the ones I like, which I just learned about, was, and again, this is low barrier of entry. You can find a mobile home. This is dangerous now. This is amazing. When you taught me this, I was like, dude, I was putting 10, 20% down all the time. No, that is collateral. That's worth that leverage to get the full loan. And then when you refi out, you're getting way more money out. But you just collateralize something that you got for $1,000. You go on Marketplace and find these, they're all up. I mean, she's found plenty of them. Right, I show just Marketplace, $10,000. Oh, that $10,000 could actually be worth $30,000. You buy a $160,000 house. You see where I'm going with this? I could buy that 210 house for free. You get what I'm saying? So there's some dangerous products that, and again, investor loans are, some of them are high interest, like you have to pay 11%, 12%. But then if you're experienced, you have a few under your belt, they drop down the interest, right? sometimes I don't even do nothing, depends on the loan.
But that's why it's important. You can use a creative funding or financing to get into the loan, but when you talk about refinancing, you need personal
I
credit.
need a personal credit. That's why you gotta go to this guy.
So this is why, like, you can bypass credit to get started as business, right? You can bypass that to get into the game, but if you want to get away from the high end, if you want to get into the more conventional loans, you definitely want to make sure that your personal credit is the foundation. You got to make sure that is set up properly. And without that, you can fall into the cracks. So you want to become a seasoned investor to grow your portfolio, not just do one deal at a time, be able to do multiple deals at a time, be able to transition into long-term deals where you are, where rather than doing fix and flips, you might have long-term tenants, you might have duplexes, your personal credit will be required or considered in that process.
And it's all about that consideration, right? They're going to give you, investor loans are a little bit flexible because they're also looking at the property. Right, they're looking also at the debt service coverage ratio. So that means that if I could rent it out for 1,500, right, they can give me a loan towards that, right? So that they know that I'm paying on that loan 1,100, but I'm making some profit. They itemize everything else. They do their numbers. They say, okay, yeah, we'll fund this up to this amount, right? So that's, there's so many different scenarios there. So it's not, again, in breaking the barriers. You don't need a lot, but you do have to have a team. And this guy, that's legendary. Because if you do want to take it long term and not just wholesale, right? You can wholesale get started, this, that, the other. The banks will start to see a lot of money coming in, right? A bank is getting excited when $10,000, $5,000 comes in every month, right? Now they can say, all right, well, we're not going to lend to you in a year, but we'll lend to you, right? Meanwhile, you have investor loans that's lending you buying properties. Now you have that rental money coming in as well, right? So nothing for us to say, all right, well, they'll lend 30,000, right? Because they see so much money coming in, right? So again, it's that relationship that you're building. I still need to build with the Navy Federal. I have the account, but most of my stuff goes to other accounts, But again, credit unions are legendary for giving really good loan products, right? So yeah, I know you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, credit unions are very powerful. They are relationship-based banking versus the higher, the more like Chases and all that. They're more so. That's why for credit for Navy, you gotta have a membership. That's why they call it membership versus just having an account with them. So they are relationship based. They're likely to give you more. There's a lot more that offer higher limit tier lending opportunities. One that is like Navy, but the ability to get in is not as stringent, like you have to be in the military. It's called Apple Federal Credit Union. It's online banking.
But to write this down, ain't nobody notes taking. They take all the notes right now.
They give credit up to $35,000, 0% interest.
What is it? Apple what? I'm just so friend, right?
Apple's Federal Credit Union. There's millions of credit unions out there. There's PenFed is okay. I have not personally worked with them directly, but Apple Federal directly on the website, they pre-qualify you, so you know if you're qualified or not before you can apply. So if you want to be able to go there, and if you have a properly structured credit profile, you can get up to $35,000. Put everything proper on the application. So let's say, for example, you have no derogatories, you have high limit credit cards. They will usually match what you have or double what you have, plus your income. So your stated income. What happens with a credit card applications is that they don't ask for documentation. Online, you hear them say no doc loans, no doc funding. That's credit card. Really, that's all them applying for credit cards because they don't require any documentation. So they tell you stated income is stated in your credit report. So if you have a solid credit report and the income that you put on your application, if it matches what's on your credit report, then you can match that money. So, let's say for instance, I tell my clients, like, use your household income. So if you are married or you have a significant other, and both make $50,000 on your application to $100,000, and you'll get approval based off of that $100,000, versus you get approval off your $50,000, and that will be your higher limit credit card, and it's not like your money, it's your household that you're utilizing on that price. So if they end up asking you show proof of documentation, if they do, I think Bank of America did it to a couple of my clients, and just send out your send W-2, send you and your husband's W-2 or you and your wife's W-2, and boom, that's proof of income right there. So
Such a simple thing.
So what about the single parent, like the single person? Just based on whatever household, like the number, like if you have a child, 2 children, whatever, just put that number on there and then.
if they bring the money to the table, yeah, put all that income in there. But whatever you deem is your household income is what you put on the application. Remember, this is stated income, not something where they're going to require you to show proof of that down the line. So, and that's what tier 1 lending, that's what credit cards. But when you go into lines of credit, when you go into personal loans, they will require you to provide documentations. So you got to be careful with that going forward. That's why you don't want to. I'm not telling anybody to lie, but you just want to make sure that you're
Cover myself. See why.
So I really love that you're here. We're obviously going to do this again. How can they find you? And obviously we're going to post this to the real estate dealer and have your link as well. But I feel like I want to unpack some more. So we're going to.
Right now, it's in order.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, my social media handles on the flyers, also some information there too. So there's DIY, like with credit repair too, DIY softwares out there now. So it's so powerful to where they do my job, right? So a lot of people, they feel like maybe credit repair companies, they don't trust, they don't understand the process all the way, or it's too expensive, right? To have somebody else do it, to have a professional handle the work for them, it's more streamlined. It takes that barrier of like, okay, I just let you handle it. But there are DIY options where you can do it yourself. This is something, again, this is your consumer report, you're in control. So rather than having an advocate do it for you, you can do it for yourself. And there's a software, website that I put on there. It's called Credit Fixer. It's a very affordable process, very affordable software. It's a monthly subscription to where it literally creates the letters for you. It finds all the inaccurate information on your credit report, and then just send the letters out to the credit bureaus for you. And that's one instance where you can't afford credit repair, you can't afford somebody to do the work for you. You can just do it yourself, and you don't even have to leave your house. So
I like it.
Flyer has that information, it has other little things on there, notes, and then my Instagram handle, Facebook handle is Credit Mike with 2 E's at the end, so Credit Mike. You can reach out to me. Phone number, my first personal number is fine at 954-628-2876.
Wait, say it again. Hold on.
It's not on there.
Oh, it is on there. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was okay. I need your blood type.
Correct.
Don't work with any bonds or anything
With now, when you're talking about funding, yes, you actually, yeah. With funding on the funding side, there is a separate business for funding, right? So if you're in a position to where like, all right, now I want to leverage, I know you have lending for real estate investment, but other types of businesses like truckers, if you're in e-commerce, if you need some type of, again, if it's equipment loan, if it's if it's a revenue-based loan, if it's a SBA loan, I do have relationships with banks that I can connect you with, and then be able to.
SBA loans, yes.
SBA loans, yes.
We're going to definitely have to talk about that.
Yeah. Now, they do require documents, a lot of documents, but you can. There's over 10 programs that I know of that we can.
What about the line of credit? I was talking to this one of my investment people. They talked about a line of credit, how they were able to pay off a bunch of properties, and then
it's
share
just
with me.
it's all.
It's probably like an offline question.
Right?
We got 10 minutes. Right, my bad. We got 10 minutes. My bad.
It's just like it's this is revolving line of credit that you have to based off of your approval odds with the bank. They will open that line. They will ask you for certain documentations. They'll see, okay, how much revenue are you bringing in every month, 3 months in a year, and just open that line to where you have a set interest rate where you just pay interest from it. Not borrowing any money from it, the interest rate. So one bank is one deck. ONE deck, one deck. It's a business bank that will qualify you as and they will go through and open. You can open a business line for them. There are some businesses that require a little bit more finesse in the game because of restrictions like high-risk industries. Trucking is a high-risk industry. Real estate is a high-risk industry. So there are a little bit of things that you have to go through and be able to make sure that you're able to.
I use this thing for this Columbia House right now. I just need,
So I do have a funding manager. I can just connect you and then.
No, I'm connected with you. And then you don't
Yeah,
connect
let's
with me.
talk about this.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that other meeting.
Okay. I mean, he totally forgot.
No, my bad. I'm sorry.
But yeah, credit is my primary business that I operate. And it's another avenue that just something else I can do, right? As they go through the process, and then something else will be courses that I buy, and then teaching
Well, not
how
even
to
now,
become a
but you don't know
business,
this one.
teaching people how to do it for themselves, like those things too. So it's just
What is free and what is not?
what is free and what is not.
You have a menu.
He'll discuss that on the.
Oh, no.
Yeah. When
That's when you get a free consult. Yes.
Yeah, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
You look
Depending
at
on what you need.
the information is free, it's my time that you have to pay for.
I know that. It's a business.
Right. So your time, absolute time. Yeah, the pay it.
Technically, I am just questioning how do you do this? You must have a set fee to do something as a person who needs help, come to you.
Yeah. And I do have a set fee for my services that I'm doing the work for you, and it's actually very transparent also. For me, there is a introduction fee into the program because I have a 6-month program that I walk people through where I'm guiding you through every month, right? Every month we have an onboarding, not onboarding, let's just say a call where we review a check-in, where we create a customized plan because everybody's different, everybody's situation is different every month, and the initial fee is $297 to get into the program. And if we have to go through and we have to delete negative items off your credit report, I don't even charge a monthly fee. I don't charge an upfront fee for that. I charge everything that's done. And for every negative item that I remove off your credit report, it's just $100. So like if you have a $1,000 collection, $5,000 collection, $20,000 collection, a repo, it's just $100 that you have to pay for.
That's reasonable.
That is very reasonable.
Yeah, because some companies, they charge you $100 saying that you're going to, they're gonna take care of it and never do it.
So is there a monthly subscription?
You just pay
It's
that
the $297 and then on the back
on
end?
the back end after the work is done.
That's crazy because they're
Yeah.
like monthly fees.
And even on the funding I don't charge on the front end too. If I can get you funding, if you're looking to get $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 in either credit cards or other, investment fundings on the back end also. So after you get funding.
You're about to get paid.
That's it.
You have no idea.
I'm glad they did it.
I'm very well connected, right? Especially with Brevard County. And you got me, you got me stuck like Chuck. Like, together. Like, all right.
What do you do?
I do, I'm the outreach coordinator for Project Responsible Incorporated. So it's a nonprofit healthcare organization that deals with the HIV, STIs, and all that other stuff. So we do have housing. With affordable housing situations, people are in need. And I've done like DCF and everything else that's going on. And I'm thinking about having my own business. And I want to be able to really be impactful for those that we serve, that the underserved and everything else, to be able to give them that elevation that they can do this, right? So you're talking my game right now, and I'm really like, I like what I'm hearing, and being able to do in certain, being in other platforms where other investors can invest with you. This is gonna be a plus. So, you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I promise you, like 2 days ago, I saw you on Facebook, right? It was like either a reel or something. And I'm like, here we go, right? And then to kind of see you here. Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out, on a Tuesday night. It's not always easy just to get here. So I appreciate that. And I think that also serves as your confirmation. You never know what you're going to learn when you come into these things, so just being open and coming and sitting down with us, we appreciate that, right? But then you just never know. I mean, I learned from Nathaniel, from all of you asking questions, right? And how we can do this thing better to really get this information out there to all the people who need it, right? Because we can do more together.
Correct.
Absolutely, right?
Correct.
Right? So, again, thank you, Michael Charles, thank you, Nathaniel, thank you everybody for coming. Really appreciate you, and we will do this again.
Thank you,
Very
Nathan, for
Yeah.
moderating and keeping us on track.
Yeah.
I love it. I was talking to them.
Good job.
I was talking to sleep. One time I really was talking.
Now I feel really.
I'm gonna do a little group video. Hold on now.
I'm Leanne.